So children, today we are going to study second activity, children. Second experiment in your ninth class book. Second experiment, differences between mixture and compound. By taking an example of iron and sulphur. By taking an example of iron and sulphur, we are going to discuss. Okay, children? Children, if I just mix iron and sulphur, do they react? No. If they don't react, that is a mixture. If they don't react, that is a mixture. But same iron and sulfur, if I take and I heat, you get iron sulfide. Is it a mixture or compound, children? FES is a iron sulfide is a compound. Iron sulfide is
Compound,
a
sir.
compound, children. Now, children, from iron and sulfur mixture, can I separate iron and sulfur, children? Can I separate them? Can I separate them, children? Can we separate iron and sulfur?
Yes, sir.
We can separate on this mixture of iron and sulfur, on this mixture of iron and sulfur, put a magnet, children. If you put magnet, what happens? All
Sir,
iron
iron will
particles will
attract,
be,
sir.
iron particles can be separated. Iron particles are separated means what is left over? If iron is separated,
Sulfur.
sulfur is left over. Sulfur is, we can separate. But from iron sulfide, can I separate iron and sulfur, children? Can I separate iron and sulfur? No, we
No,
can't
sir, we
separate.
can't separate.
We can't separate. We can't separate. There's a compound. Okay, here iron is retaining its property. Iron is retaining its property in mixture. Iron is retaining its property. Why it's retaining its property? Because it is in elemental form. It did not form any new compound. But here, iron is individual atoms not retaining their properties. Why they are not retaining their properties? Why they are not retaining their properties?
Sir, because they are mixed well,
Yes,
sir.
sir, they're mixed well.
They formed into new
In
compound
compounds.
because they formed into new compound. They formed into new compound. Children, try to understand. Children, try to understand. Iron and sulfur is there in iron sulfide, but they will have a new set of properties. Iron gets attracted to the magnet. Here also it will get attracted. Means no, individual iron gets attracted, but once they form iron sulfide, it will get new set of properties. Children, in a compound, they lose their individual characters. They will get a new character. In a compound, individual characters, they will lose, children. They will get a new character. Whereas in mixture, since they both are not reacting chemically, they retain their properties, children. Okay, and okay, children. Next, I will take carbon disulfide solvent, children. Children, I will take carbon disulfide. This is a solvent. I will mix iron and sulfur. I'll mix iron and sulfur, children. In carbon disulfide, I'll mix iron and sulfur. What happens? Sulfur is soluble, but iron is not soluble here. In carbon disulfide, sulfur is soluble, but iron is not soluble, children. Are you able to understand, children, what I'm saying? Yes, children.
Yes, sir.
In this carbon disulfide, this is a liquid, children. In this liquid, what I did means I took Fe and S, children. Sulfur is soluble, children. Sulfur is soluble. Sulfur is soluble in carbon disulfide, but iron do not mix, children. Okay, this is number one, children. Number two, here what happens means here in carbon disulfide, iron sulfide has no effect, children. Leave it. Iron sulfur in carbon disulfide, I will mix iron sulfide. I want to see whether they are soluble in or not mix. Leave it, children. It won't occur only. You are able to understand, children. Here they won't occur only. They won't react. They won't mix only in carbon disulfide. The iron FES, you take iron sulfide and mix in carbon disulfide solvent. They won't even react, children. Forget about that. Okay, so finally, children, what I want to say is I want to give you differences between mixtures and compounds, children, in this activity using iron and sulfur. What are the differences, children? Components can be separated. Components can be separated physically. Components can be separated. Okay, and constituents are not in fixed ratio. Constituents, iron and sulfide, not in fixed ratio. They are not in fixed ratio. Try to understand, children. And the constituent retain their properties. They retain their properties. No new properties are formed. Constituents retain their properties. Separation can be done physically. You can separate them physically also. Separate them physically by hand also you can separate. Here in compound iron and sulfide, once you take iron and sulfur mixture and heat it, you get iron sulfide. Iron sulfide, you can't separate them, children. In iron sulfide, you can't separate iron and sulfur. You can't separate. Okay, and they are in fixed ratio. In iron sulfide, they are in 1:1 ratio. They are in fixed ratio. In what? In what, children? I will take H2 plus O2. You will get H2O. In H2O, what is the ratio, children? 2:1. 2:1. Fixed ratio they will maintain, children. Here they will be having fixed ratio, and here they will get a new set of properties. They will get a new set of properties. Iron has magnetism, sir, initially, and sulfur was dissolving in carbon disulfide, sir, initially. No, nothing is happening. Means yes, they will get new properties. The compound will get new properties, children. And here, if you want to separate iron and sulfur, you can't separate them physically. You have to go for some chemical process only. Okay, children, those who did not understand the activity, slowly I will say again, try to understand, children. Here, my intention was to explain about iron and sulfur, children. See, children, iron is there, sulfur is there. Individually, you can separate iron. How you can separate it? By using magnet. When it is in mixture form, you can separate. When it is in mixture form, just iron you can separate with magnet. Sulfur, how you can separate? By dissolving in carbon disulfide. Okay. Whereas once they both are heated, they will form a compound called iron sulfide. Now you can't separate using a magnet, you can't separate using carbon disulfide, and entirely this magnetism property, solubility are changing into new set of properties. Why? Because compound will get new set of properties. You are able to understand, children? Hydrogen is there in the atmosphere, oxygen is there in the atmosphere, but when they react together, they will form water. Hydrogen will have one property, oxygen will have one property, water will have some other property. Hydrogen is a good supporter of combustion. Oxygen is also good supporter of combustion, but water is very, very bad supporter of combustion. If you put water on the fire, it will stop. Nitrogen is there in the atmosphere, hydrogen is there in the atmosphere. When they react, they will form ammonia. When they don't react, they are called mixture. When they react, they are called compound. When they don't react, they are called mixture. When they react, they are called compound. When they don't react, they are called mixture. When they react, they'll get a compound. And compound is always in fixed ratio. What is the ratio of nitrogen and hydrogen here? Anyone? What is the ratio? 1 is to
3.
1 is to 1. 1 is to
1 is to 3. 1 is to 3. What is the ratio
Okay.
here? 2 is to 1.
2 is to
What is the ratio here? 1 is to 1. Okay, carbon is there in the atmosphere, oxygen is there in the atmosphere. They are forming carbon dioxide. What is the ratio? 1 is to 2.
1 is to 2.
Like that. Individually, carbon and oxygen is called, when they don't react, they are called mixture. But once they react, they are called as
compound.
compound. Right? Understand, children? Once they react, they are called as compound. Once they react, they are called as a compound. Compound will have entirely new set of properties. Mixtures, in mixture, individuals will retain their properties, whereas in compound they will have new set of properties. In mixture they retain their properties. In compound, new properties coming. New property. Okay, these are the difference between mixture and compound, children. Iron and sulfur. Iron and sulfur individually it is called mixture. When it forms iron sulfide, it is called a compound. It lost its magnetism property, it lost its dissolving property in carbon dioxide. It will get a new set of properties. So hope you are able to understand. Anyone have any doubt in this?